On this episode, we look at the current state of self-driving cars. We look at the Mercedes-Benz E-class and the Volvo S90. We answer a reader question about two Ford SUVs. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, and welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm Jake Fisher.
I'm Michelle Naranjo.
First off, Michelle, I want to welcome you to Talking Cars.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Sure. This episode, we're going to talk about self-driving cars. They've been in the news a lot lately. There's been some very high-profile crashes. But also, we have a few new cars that have arrived at the track with what can be called self-driving technology. We bought a new Mercedes-Benz E-class that's parked behind us. We've also driven the new Volvo S90. Now, the E-class, which we bought a pretty loaded up one, it has something called Drive Pilot.
Right.
Well, now, what can that do?
It's essentially a combination of things that includes adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist.
So while you're driving down the road, how does it feel? What is it actively doing?
It's not intrusive. It keeps your distance, keeps you within the lanes, sort of steers you, but you're still driving.
Mm-hmm. Jake, you've driven the car as well.
Sure, yeah, exactly like Michelle says. I mean, it nudges you. It's kind of a gentle assist. I mean, it's kind of strange they call it Drive Pilot because it's not really a pilot. You continue to be the pilot of the car, but it gives you kind of that assist. And it's almost like driving, in a gutter in the bowling alley, it's like, you could still change lanes if you want, but there's like a little gentle resistance as you go over that lane. But you can keep it engaged as you go lane to lane.
Right. Now this is differing from lane departure mitigation and systems like that in that it doesn't really let you get out of the lane. It's keeping you within the lane rather than correcting you once you get out.
Right, so it'll kind of right, exactly. So there's some systems, LKA, lane keeping assist, which are almost kind of like, the penalty box, like you hit the lane, and actually some of them, they've really evolved, right? I mean, first there was the lane keeping warning, which would be, you drove over the lane and it's called beep, 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 beep. Then you got into the thing where you go over the lane and it's almost like a rumble strip. Some of them actually vibrate in the steering wheel. So it's like, okay, I could feel that I'm going out of my lane, but I don't alert all the other passengers that I'm not driving well. This is kind of this next iteration where it kind of just nudges you back, not puts you in the penalty box and says, no, I did something wrong, but just kind of gently nudges you there. And it could really act as an assist. So you're driving along and it kind of takes some of the stress out of driving because it kind of gently hugs you in that lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much maintaining your position within the lane.
Right, it's gentle. It's not, some of the systems, if you're going around a bicyclist and you need to hug that center line, it will sometimes push you, some systems will push you towards the bicyclist and scare both you and the bicyclist, but this one doesn't.
No, and the Volvo S90 works in a similar way. It's also sort of helping you stay within the lane, just gently tracking with the lane. Now, the thing is, though, is that there's a bit of a disconnect between what that E-class does in reality and how Mercedes-Benz is marketing the system. So we've got an advertisement from the system. Let's watch that and see how they describe this system.
Is the world truly ready for a vehicle that can drive itself? Ready or not, the future is here. Introducing the 2017 E-class from Mercedes-Benz. A concept car that's already a reality.
There's some fine print at the bottom of that, isn't there?
Yes, a little bit. So, I mean, the ad was very clear that self-driving is coming.
It's here.
And it's here with your new E-class. That's not really what this car does. No. The car is not self-driving, and in the little tiny fine print there.
Not a self-driving car.
Not a self-driving car. So
keep your hands on the wheel at all times, please.
Well, they say what the car does is it alerts you, and it tells you to put your hands back on the wheel if you take it off. Despite the fact that the ad is showing you them taking the hands off the wheel, which is an odd thing. So this car is, and now we talked about the Volvo before, and the Volvo works like all the other systems that have this kind of capability of keeping you in your lane. As soon as you take your hands off the wheel, it goes beep, 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 put your hand back on the wheel.
Right.
Because they don't want people to get in the habit of working with the car and acting like it's a self-driving car, because it's not. It doesn't have the capability.
Right. In fact, Volvo is calling it drive assist. They are being very clear about this. There's no pilot in the name. It is an assist system.
I mean, they could call it pilot assist, but it's an assist. You're the pilot. The car's not the pilot. Yeah, this advertising from Mercedes-Benz is strange because they're really, I mean, the voice and the image are showing you, look, self-driving is here. They say clearly this car is not an autonomous driving car. It is not a self-driving car, and you should keep your hands on the wheel at all time. They did program it so you can take your hands off the wheel. I was measuring it at 15 seconds, 30 seconds, sometimes 40 seconds at a time before it gives you that alert. But it's clearly not designed for that. Actually, it's disappointing that they are allowing you to keep your hands off the wheel that much and showing an advertisement, because it really does send a mixed message. I mean, I think the design of these systems they're taking some of the mental load off of you, right? So I don't have to be so concentrated on keeping that speed. I don't have to be so concentrated on keeping that lane, perhaps on a dark, rainy night or whatever it is. But the danger is that mixed message of, hey, it's self-driving is here, and now I could go and fiddle with my radio or my phone.
And particularly with the Mercedes system, not this particular car, but in the S Coupe, I drove in a downpour one time, and it is perfectly capable of keeping you within the lines when you can't even see the lines yourself.
I had the same exact thing in the Genesis G90, which was amazing. A two-lane road, it saw the lines a lot better than I did. And the other night with the E-class, I had in crowd practice, I left late, I'm tired. I'm just turning the system on, You just set it at the speed limit, it stays within the lane, it is a help. It is a belt and suspenders. And it's nice to have that benefit, assuming you're one of those people who realizes that they are fallible and sometimes they need an assist.
Right. But that's the thing, and I think that there lies the problem here. It's an assist. It helps you. We're not at the point, we will get there. We will get there where the cars could drive themselves. It's not right around the corner. It may be 20 or 30 years, quite honestly. But the problem is that we're not there. We're still driving, and these systems are there to help us. And the more that these automakers go and try to insinuate that the capability of the car is so advanced, it gets in this weird gray area. And I think, when we talked about Tesla, I mean, Tesla, with allowing you to take your hands off the wheel for such a long time.
Over 3 minutes.
Over 3 minutes, really gives that message that, it's fine. Let us do its thing. And they're not there yet.
Well, it becomes a very subtle message that, okay, the system assists you when you're kind of tired or when the weather's not good, not in snow, but in the rain. But I mean, that's kind of hard to show off to your neighbors. It's kind of hard to show off to your friends. It's kind of hard to have in an advertisement someone, I'm kind of sleepy and I still have a hand on the wheel.
Are you a bad driver? This might help you. This is not a good sales pitch.
No, it becomes so, that's why, I wonder if that's why you see, the hands coming off the wheel.
It's hard to demonstrate it.
Right.
It's hard to demonstrate without taking your hands off the wheel and say, look what it's doing, because otherwise you're showing someone driving.
Look with no hands.
I mean, we've seen other car companies do this. We saw Genesis do this. They had a convoy of a couple of years ago, they had a convoy of Genesis driving themselves. They had the drivers jump out of the cars. But I mean, even the fine print in that ad said that the system was modified not to turn off, because once you take your hands off the wheel, it will eventually shut off the system.
It's really more about demonstrating what the system is capable of.
It is not how they are meant to be used.
It's not. And what's kind of scary about it is that these systems are good. I mean, the advancements they're making in this technology, and the ability of a car to sense when you go out of a lane, to sense when an accident is going to happen, is excellent. I mean, this is the future in auto safety. And unfortunately, some of this stuff is getting a bad name, because you hear about these accidents and people are like, hey, my system didn't work and it didn't stop this accident. Well, that's not what it's designed for. It's supposed to help you avoid these accidents. It's not out there to avoid every accident and allow you to not pay attention.
Right. I mean, you also wind up with car companies some have best practices. Most car companies, you cannot take your hands off the wheel for very long at all, whereas Tesla lets you take your hands off the wheel for a prolonged length of time.
Right. There's that in the autonomous sort of levels. There's level 3, which Volvo and a few other companies.
Ford, I know, said, we're not touching level 3.
They won't touch it because it relies on the human being having to retrieve the system and take over again, and human reaction times aren't predictable enough or reliable enough.
Right. Now, level 3 becomes a bit of this no man's land, where the car has some limited capability of actually self-driving, but there are times when the driver will be expected to get back into the game. And there's been research that shows that depending on how you do that in the state of the driver, that can take a very long time.
So the cliff notes on that, right? So level 2 is what we're talking about all these cars do. It's a little bit of assist. You're driving the car will assist. Level 2 autonomy. Level 4 autonomy is the car could drive itself.
That's the Google car.
That's the Google car. Level 3 is this pass off. You know, sometimes the car is doing its thing, but it'll raise its hand and say, take over now because I'm overwhelmed. This is this no man's land, which really doesn't seem to have an automotive application. In an aircraft, maybe, it works great because things don't happen so quick.
Right, but it's also well known from aviation that there are big limitations to this because people's capability to continue monitoring technology while they're not doing anything, people aren't good at that. They get bored real fat quick and they check out, you know, or they just don't see subtle problems that are cropping up. There's also a difference in, let's call it sort of attitude between how the system in the Mercedes works and the system in the Tesla works. The Mercedes-Benz is a subtle input. You know, you can easily drive over it. You can easily change lanes with it. With the Tesla, if you make a steering input, it shuts off the system.
It does. It almost encourages you not to take an active role in that way, because as soon as you say, okay, I want to be in this side of the lane, it'll go disable itself because now you've overridden the system. The Mercedes-Benz has worked out a system where it's nudging you, but you could go and you could still actively drive the car without shutting the system off.
You're still in control.
You're still in control, but it's always there to help you, as opposed to, you know, Tesla's decided that, you know, Tesla's decided it wants to be in the middle of the lane. And if you don't want to be in that middle of the lane because you want to drift over to the left side because this guy is straddling the lane, it doesn't want to do that. It wants to be in control.
Right, it tries to be more of an all or nothing system that you still need to keep your hands on the wheel, you still need to remain involved.
Right.
So, self-driving cars, it's a long road. It's, you know, we're starting to see the first tentative steps along it, and there's a lot of interface questions that need to be answered. Let's talk about the Mercedes-Benz E300.
There's more to the active safety suite?
There is more to this $70,000 car than just the fact that it claims to be able to drive itself. It's a nice car.
It is. It's beautiful inside. I mean, absolutely comfortable.
Mercedes is the benchmark right now when it comes to fit and finish for interiors.
Absolutely.
They just, everything is padded, everything is stitched. You know, even compared to Audi, who we used to rave about. It's like, Audi looks a bit down market compared to this Mercedes. We've always liked the E-class because it drove pretty well. How does this one drive?
Drives great. I mean, the S-Class, we tested it a little while ago. We're like blown away by how nice that car is. The C-Class, the little one, came in and we're like, wow, it's like a little S-Class. This one's kind of the Goldilocks right in the middle. This is, you know, they're cutting the sausage of different sizes, really. I mean, they have very similar characteristics and it's really nice characteristics. I mean, the handling is great. The steering is great. It feels that really solid. You know, it's got 4-cylinder turbo now,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the
kind of
surprise.
heresy.
I mean, you know, you think about it, and there are other companies doing this, you know, with this classic car having a 2-liter turbo. But, you know, a Cadillac CT6 or an Audi A6, it's kind of the exception, you know. Some people get them, but it's not the main take rate. This thing is, the main car is 241 horsepower, 2-liter turbo. And it gets the job done.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't make you remember that 300 used to mean something. It's great.
Yeah, it's also, here's another example of a 9-speed done right.
Right.
You know, the transmission is very smooth.
Seamless.
Yeah. The controls aren't so great.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, command, you know, when every car company seems to be making it easier. I mean, iDrive is almost becoming understandable.
Right.
Audi's MMI has gotten better and better over the years. Command seems to be getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're adding too much dazzle, I think. I mean, that's part of the problem. You know, I mean, every time you go into a different system, you see little, you know, you watch the car spin around and the car has to be there and it drives out. And it's kind of neat if you want to impress, you know, your friends, but it doesn't, I mean, look, if I'm in a car and I want to access something, just give me the menu quick.
Yeah.
You know, bring it up quick. Don't make me wait for an animation, please.
Well, it's also, I don't know whether I turn the knob, I play with the scroll pad. There's a pair of capacitive four-way toggles on
I
the
can't
steering
stand
wheel.
those.
I mean, there's
I mean,
a
you
lot
have-
of entry methods.
You've
and-
got the access to the steering wheel buttons, but it's like, what is going on with this, automotive application of these capacitive switches? They never ever work. I
No.
mean, to the camera, no, stop putting capacitive controls in cars. They don't work. They don't.
We're frustrated right now because just yesterday we looked at the Toyota Prius Prime, which has a ton of capacitive switches. And it's like, it's like Toyota being late to get on jump on every bandwagon.
And now there's capacitive switches on the Avalon.
It's like Ford did this in 2011. They decided this was a horrible idea. They've almost gotten completely out of capacitive switches, and Toyota now finally
So
introduces
in a normal
capacitive
switch,
switches.
you press and it goes down, and you feel
know you
it
pressed
click.
it,
Oh, I
yeah.
pressed it. Here, it is a flat surface, and you touch it, and you hope it took, and now you have to look to see if it took.
Right.
And plus, you can't place yourself so easy on it because it's just a flat plate. So now Mercedes-Benz in their wisdom, and there's lots of wisdom. The car's really nice.
Yeah.
But they put capacitive switches on the steering wheel, so you inevitably kind of like brush your hands on these parts of the steering wheel because you should hold the steering wheel despite the advertising. And suddenly you're changing things. I'm changing radio stations because I put my finger on the wrong part of the steering wheel.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost getting to the point where these are wonderful cars that are really held back by their
Yes.
controls. But another thing you can do with controls is you can just put like a giant iPad in the middle of the screen, and that's what Volvo's doing with the S90. What did you think of the Volvo?
It drove beautifully. I had someone pull out in front of me when I was going down a road, and
Yeah, the automatic braking.
automatic braking kicked in, and the minivan behind me was very irritated. But I realized that it's very safe. I mean, it feels good. It drives nice. It's pretty inside.
It's pretty, and I mean that's something that's interesting. Is that we've got a couple Jaguars in the fleet right now. We have the F-Pace, we have an XF. This Volvo, except for the rear end, which does not look good, but I mean this Volvo is very shapely. It's very plush inside. It's a sense of occasion inside that's been missing from some Jaguars.
Sense of occasion.
Yes.
Look at that. What occasion? It's Volvo Day. If I get
Swedish meatballs for everyone.
If I go to IKEA, that is my ride. But no, the interior is gorgeous. I mean, it really is, and it's something. And you're right. Some of the Jaguars we looked at, okay, it's nice, but here you get into here, and it's like, wow, okay, now I understand why I spent 50 grand or whatever it is.
Oh, 66.
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean we try to load it
really load it
inscription,
up,
but
yeah.
I mean even normally it's going to be around 60. But sense of occasion is an interesting word because it's an
because you used it.
because I used it. If I do,
If I do say so
I
myself.
congratulate myself. But here is Volvo coming out with a new flagship sedan, and I don't know if anyone cares. I just am not sure there's that many people in the world who are like, oh, wow, my S80, I've got a lot of miles on that. It's time to replace it with something else.
I talked to someone the other day that is holding off, waiting for one that's driving
Really?
a G37.
That's a change from an Infiniti G37
I
to
found
a S90.
kind of funny, but he wants a luxury car. He doesn't want the cookie cutter, Mercedes, BMW, Audi brand. He wants something different.
Okay, and
It's
Infiniti
gonna-
doesn't have anything that they've made in the last 6
Right.
years in that class. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, we're seeing with the market. I mean, there's a big push towards SUVs. SUVs are really where people are buying, and they've got a great SUV.
Yeah, I mean the XC90 basically the brand is reborn from the XC90.
Right, exactly. So I mean, it is surprising that they wouldn't concentrate on a mid-size SUV. I mean, the
XC60 is old,
so it's a little long
Yeah.
in the tooth. Yeah, I mean,
but
I think
it's a different platform. So
yeah. So I guess that's it. They were able to do that, but yeah, I don't know. Large sedans. If you've got that kind of money to burn, I think a lot of people are moving to mid-size SUVs now.
yeah.
I agree.
Another car that Volvo, again with 2-liter 4-cylinder, this one's supercharged and turbocharged. It's got no problem.
It's a little loud.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great. It
Yeah.
moves the car, but it's not. We complained about that in the XC90, and Volvo claims to have put more sound deadening in this. And
Well, I mean, there's the word, sound deadening. It really comes down to that. It's about the sound of it as opposed to the performance. And no one's going to drag strips with these cars.
No.
It's about how much is that engine noise in your face. And this Mercedes-Benz, I think, does a great job
hidden.
of masking,
Yes.
just masking all that noise. So what's funny about this is that if on the outside of the car, it's pretty noisy. It almost sounds like
It sounds like
diesel,
it totally sounds like a diesel.
right? But if you're inside, it's just silky smooth. So they've just quieted that cabin so much that it almost doesn't matter if it's a V6 or a turbo or whatnot, because it's very quiet in there.
Yep. So we're going to get to one reader question. And he actually has two different questions, so it's sort of a 2-for-1. My daughter has a Ford Escape Titanium 2.0 turbo and generally has had no problems so far. Good acceleration, feels luxurious, and is generally nice looking. Gets terrible reviews from CR. It's the car or my Ford Touch that lowers the scores. Also, I'm looking for a slightly larger 2-row SUV but want a higher-end vehicle. I've had 3 Acuras, but the RDX is smaller and I want the MDX feels big. Would the Ford Edge Titanium come close? First off, the Escape. It scores well. It just isn't reliable.
Okay, score, right? So the overall score is not that good on that vehicle. Our road test score was actually very good on that car. So in terms of driving it, what she's doing, and the way we drove it, we really do enjoy the Escape. It drives great, especially with that 2 liter. It's got plenty of power. It's really a luxury vehicle. What brings down the overall score is, well, reliability as well as the crash tests on it too. So small overlap wasn't good on that.
Right.
So that brings down that overall score. So score is kind of a loaded word. So there's good things about it, bad things about it.
There's several layers to score.
Right.
Also, Sync 3 is quite an improvement over my Ford Touch. Yeah. How about the Edge? Can the Edge compare to an Acura?
Ooh, let's see. A titanium Edge could, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the Edge is a nice driving, one of the sportier SUVs, yet it rides. Ford is great at that handling and ride balance.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the Edge does a really good job there. Again, another vehicle that actually does surprisingly well with its 2-liter turbo. Yeah, and it's a nice size, and for the price of an MDX, you're getting everything.
Absolutely.
Everything in an Edge.
Well, I mean, the MKX is very similar to the Edge. It's kind of the luxury version of it. And just look what we said about it. I mean, in terms of the driving experience, we kind of gushed on that vehicle quite a lot.
The Edge, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas
The MKX,
Lincoln
yeah.
MKX.
The road test
the
score
MKX,
was
right.
Yeah.
one of the highest.
Yeah.
That's right. And actually, the MKX and the Edge drive better than the Acura MDX. Yeah, the MDX is kind of a blah driving SUV nowadays.
But again, when it comes to overall score,
it's more reliable.
Right. When you care about reliability and you want something to be trouble-free, that's down 5 years, 6 years, that's where it boosts the score of something like an MDX or a Lexus RX for that matter.
That's right. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, we thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.